My story about a city so nice they named it twice. As the New York governor signs marijuana tax cut bills providing local 280E relief, New York City businesses. Well, New York's governor signed legislation to provide tax relief to New York City marijuana businesses that are currently blocked from making federal deductions under an Internal Revenue Service IRS code known as 280E. About 5 months after the Senate and Assembly approved the proposal, and less than a week after both chambers formally transmitted their identical bills to Governor Kathy Hochul, she signed them into law on Friday. While Hochul signed a separate budget bill last year that included provisions that allow state level cannabis business tax deductions, a partial remedy to the ongoing federal issue, New York City has its own tax laws that weren't affected by that change. New measure is meant to fill the policy gap. Summary of the bill says, quote, this bill would allow a deduction for business expenses incurred by taxpayers authorized by the cannabis law to engage in the sale, distribution, or production of adult use cannabis products or medical cannabis purposes of the unincorporated business tax, general corporation tax, and the corporate tax of 2015, commonly referred to as the business corporation tax. Section of the city's tax code would be amended to add sections allowing the deductions in an amount equal to any federal deduction disallowed by 280E of the Internal Revenue Code. Memo to the attached bill also says this modification to income is appropriate because while the expenses of cannabis related business not be deducted for federal purposes, New York law permits and encourages these businesses akin to any other legitimate business occurring in the state. Cities' business taxes should similarly encourage these business activities. Also notes that the reform legislation has the support of New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's got his own problems. Lawmakers in several states have pursued the tax workaround as congressional marijuana reform legislation continues to stall, leaving state licensed cannabis businesses with significantly higher federal effective tax rates under prohibition. Last month, for example, Pennsylvania House approved a large tax reform that contains language to provide state level relief to medical marijuana businesses. Reform has drawn the ire of Republican members who normally champion tax cuts as a Democratic giveaway to the cannabis industry. Of course, what else would they call it? In August, the governor of Maine signed legislation to decouple the state tax from federal policy for cannabis businesses. The governor of Illinois also signed a budget bill in June that includes provisions that will allow licensed marijuana businesses to take state tax deductions that they're currently prohibited from utilizing under the IRS code. That same month, the governor of Connecticut also signed budget legislation that includes provisions to provide state level tax relief to licensed marijuana businesses as a federal 280E workaround for the industry. Also, the governor of New Jersey signed legislation in May to allow licensed marijuana businesses to deduct certain expenses on their state tax returns as a partial IRS 280E fix. Lawmakers in Iowa and Virginia have similarly pursued tax relief for their state's marijuana markets. At the congressional level, Representative Earl Blumenauer, Jason's buddy, introduced a bill in May that would amend the IRS code to allow state legal marijuana businesses to finally take federal tax deductions that are available to companies in other industries. He told Marijuana Moment that he's absolutely convinced that when we are able to fully deduct their business expenses, actually will be more revenue collected because people will fully comply with the law. For the time being, the marijuana industry continues to face tax policy challenges under the umbrella of prohibition. As the Congressional Research Service noted in a 2021 report, the IRS has offered little tax guidance about the application of 280E. The IRS did provide some guidance in an update in 2020, explaining that while cannabis businesses can't take standard deductions, 280E does not prohibit a participant in the marijuana industry from reducing its gross receipts by its properly calculated cost of goods to determine its gross income. I like how they show you, they tell you how to cheat. The IRS update seemed to be responsive to a Treasury Department internal watchdog report that was released in 2020. The department's Inspector General for Tax Administration had criticized the IRS for failing to adequately advise taxpayers marijuana industry about compliance with federal tax laws and directed the agency to, quote, develop and publicize guidance specific to the marijuana industry. Industry's 280E problem could also be resolved if the Drug Enforcement Administration accepts the recommendation of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resources and moves marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substance Act. I'm Todd Dankin with High at 9 News. What do you guys think? I think it's a step in the right direction.
Tax is still theft no matter what.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, it is.
This is still good, but it doesn't do anything. I think the headline's kind of misleading because it pertains to is New York taxes and has nothing to do with your federal taxes, and everyone knows that's the big Achilles heel in regards with cannabis businesses.
Right, but it's allowing for the deduction because you can't deduct it federally, so you can deduct it.
You can deduct it on your state taxes. That's great, but the percentage of your state taxes and compared to your federal income taxes is very, very different.
I still think that kudos to New York, even though they haven't had the smoothest rollout, in acknowledging one of the biggest pain points for the industry. And,
Agreed.
Press release and PR aside, at least they recognize that this is a big issue. They're trying to amplify the issue. They are both the financial capital of the country, as well as arguably the tri-state area is the biggest cannabis market in the country. And so I've said a lot of not complimentary things about New York and their attempts to enter into the regulated space. On this one, I'm gonna give them 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
I agree.
I agree too.
Yeah,
It's better. It's better than what other states have done. I mean, at least they're doing something, and it's going to help these businesses. And so, kudos to them for trying to do something to help with that bottom line.
Yeah, a lot of states are doing it,
and I think tongue and my honey badger, and I am going to buy as much regulated cannabis as I can.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
A lot of states are doing it. Pennsylvania, Maine, Illinois, Connecticut. They all doing it because cannabis industry complains. Right? Who do we complain to? We complain to the local guys saying 280E sucks and I can't do this and I can't do that. So I agree. I think it's a great acknowledgement of the overtaxed industry that we all live in.
It's a good first step. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not as big as the hype is, but it's a good start.
Nothing ever is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like little drops in the bucket here and there. You know what I mean? Nothing.
But those drops add up.
Those drops add up. That they add
Better
up.
those drops than teardrops.
Yeah, they don't add up fast enough, Nicole. Not fast enough.
Those drops add up, says the Minnesota State Trooper.
Exactly.